Welcome, Drink with James, episode 53. Tim's nodding at me, which means I'm saying the correct thing. It's finally a beautiful day here in New York City. We've just been just pissing down rain recently. Hopefully you all enjoyed Luke last week. I thought he was great. I thought it was a really cool conversation. If you haven't watched that one, definitely take some time and do that. Coming off a high, we had a great For You last night. Full room of super interesting, committed people. Those are always really fun. If you're in New York City and you're an influencer, make sure you keep an eye out for those. We do them about once a month. You can email Tim if you need a schedule, Tim at 4Card. But you should definitely make it out for those if you live in New York. Something else I've been thinking about recently. So over the Memorial Day weekend, last weekend, I just kind of set this random goal for myself to ride 200 miles, which isn't a massive amount in the world that I occupy of bike racers, but is more than I would just choose to necessarily ride on a random weekend. So first 2 days were really easy. It was beautiful and sunny out. I did 71 miles the first day, 86 the second day. So I had about 43 miles or so left to do on Monday, which should be a breeze. I had half a day of work to do, so go ride for a couple hours, done, 200 miles done and dusted. Ended up pouring rain all day on Monday, and I had to ride the bike inside on a trainer, which is really boring. You're just sitting in your kitchen, spinning, just looking at a computer, watching Netflix or something. So I was on the trainer for 2.5 hours, hit the 43 miles I needed, and got to the 200 miles. And this is a goal that I wasn't nobody told me how to do this. There was no real reason for me to do it. I think what was interesting for me was that there's no way, if I didn't tell myself on Friday that I was going to ride 200 miles, there's absolutely no way I would have ridden that bike on Monday because it was raining and I just had a pretty big 2 days on the bike. And there's definitely no way I would have ridden it inside on the trainer for 2.5 hours. And so I was thinking about goals and the power of goals. And I think what is really interesting about them is that they can force you to kind of go beyond yourself and stretch a little bit further and work a little bit harder than you would if you didn't have that goal. It's essentially just holding yourself accountable. And I think a lot of times people think about goals as this goalpost to pass by, this sign to pass and say, okay, I passed that, that's a goal. Goals shouldn't be set up to pat yourself on the back. They should be something that kind of kicks you in the ass. So, as you think about what you're doing in the influencer space, or in your, if you've got a day job or whatever it might be, you think about goals. Think about those things that are going to force you to get outside of your comfort zone, to do things that you wouldn't normally do, to keep the promise to yourself. Because if it's important enough for you to keep that promise to yourself, you will force yourself to do things that you don't like to do. That might be going into a room and making sure, into an event and making sure you get 10 business cards before you leave. That might be, asking a, street style photographer to shoot you at Fashion Week. It could be reaching out to a brand you've always wanted to work with cold and pitching them. It could be any number of things, but use goals to force yourself to do things that you're maybe not comfortable with. Question time. So the question is, you're collaborating with a brand, but they have a smaller following than you. Could you try and use the fact that you have a larger following, to get more money or get more from the deal? Short answer, absolutely. So we talk about this power, this what do I want to say? This axis of power inside of any negotiation. And if you are an influencer and you have 30,000 followers, and the brand you want to work with has 100,000 followers, they have, in this space, they have more power than you. So they have more negotiating power than you do. If you have 30,000 followers and the brand has 10,000 followers, all of a sudden the tables are turned a little bit. You can give them more potentially than they can give you as far as exposure. So you should definitely think about that in your negotiations. I wouldn't say that you can necessarily charge a lot more. The reason being that if a brand has a lot less followers than you and you're an emerging influencer, they're probably not going to have a huge budget. So it's not necessarily that you should increase your prices, it's just that you shouldn't decrease them because there's nothing that they're going to give you outside of potentially money or a relationship with that brand, which is great. But whereas a brand that has hundreds of thousands of followers that says, hey, I can only give you half of what you asked for, but I can regram 2 of your photos, that is value. This brand, them regramming you is not value, so make sure you get your full price if that brand isn't able to give you anything in the social space.
You still find it's worth doing?
It's definitely worth doing. I mean, it's worth doing if they can pay you, 1, or 2, if you just love the brand. You know, and again, I think I can't stress enough, especially as you're growing, how important it is to build relationships with really great brands that are growing with you. Because if you know they're an emerging brand, but you really like them, and you feel like in 2 or 3 years they're going to be huge, and you're an emerging influencer, and they really like you, but they feel like in a few years you're going to be huge. That's a really nice symbiotic relationship to have. And so if you love the brand, you should work with them, even if they don't have budget. This is about the follower health graphs that we've released. People are asking, what are lurkers? Are lurkers somebody that I can turn into active followers? So let me just explain exactly how that graph works and what lurkers are. So when we look at lurkers, there is a number of scores a lurker can have. I think it goes from -3 to 0 maybe. So there's kind of a grade there. So lurkers can be a number of things. They can be somebody who has 0 photos, and has what looks like a real name and a real profile photo and a real bio, but they just have no pictures. So we can't say with 100% certainty that that person isn't engaging or isn't real or is real. So we put them in that lurker category. It can also be somebody who just started their account. They've got 5 photos, they've got 10 followers, they're following 50 people. Again, it's just we look for things that look normal or don't look normal. So if you have somebody following you that has 1 photo but they have 5,000 followers and they're following 7,000 people, that doesn't really feel like a real person to us. Now, if we can't 100% say this is a bot and we will pin our life to the fact that this is a bot, we don't call it a bot, we call it a lurker. So some of those lurkers are just people who left the platform. I've been through hundreds and hundreds of these accounts to kind of see what they look like in the lurker space. A lot of them are just people that maybe posted 3 photos, but they haven't posted in 180 weeks. Could they come back to Instagram and start engaging? Definitely. Are they a real follower? Yeah, they definitely were a real follower at some point, but for some reason or another, they're no longer active. So I think you could potentially have those people turn into active followers, but it's not anything you can do. It's not that they're not engaging with your content, it's that they're not engaging with Instagram in general. And let me just say that, while Instagram doesn't give exact numbers, the estimates are that 30% of the platform is inactive. So they have, 800 million active users. Let's do the math on that. 10% is 80 times 3 is 24. So 240 million of the 800 million users aren't using Instagram anymore. So it wouldn't be crazy for you to have 20% of your following be lurkers, be people that no longer use the platform. That wouldn't be crazy. So just think about that. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's okay. If you have a 4Card account and you haven't seen your follower health graph yet, go to settings, disconnect your Instagram, reconnect it. If you are watching this and you're not a member of 4Card, what the hell are you waiting for? Sign up. Tim will throw a link over here. Once you connect your Instagram, it'll be a couple weeks and we'll get your graph done. Let's say you guys are talking about I want to pitch a brand. I've already got a trip I'm putting together. Let's say I'm going to Tulum and I've got a hotel and I got all this stuff. What am I actually sending the brand? Am I sending a PDF or mood boards? How am I structuring that actual pitch document? Let me say first, you shouldn't be sending a pitch document to a brand without having a relationship with them. It's probably just not going to work unless you're just a massive influencer who everybody knows And you can just be like, hey, I'm coming to Tulum and I want you to give me money or free things, and they probably get that. Now, most of us don't have that luxury. So you need to first think about the brands you have a relationship with. Let's say you've worked in the last year with 50 brands, okay? And let's say you think 10 of them are great, are great for this Tulum trip, and they maybe can give you some money or product or something to help you with it. So then you want to reach out to those 10 brands, reconnect with them, say, hey, I'm planning a trip. I'd love to have you guys incorporated. I'd love to hear more about what you are currently working on and if it can be a match. So let's say out of that email, you get 3 or 4 people who are interested. They send back, absolutely, we actually just launched swimwear. We're really excited about it. Another brand says, we just launched sunglasses. Okay, so now you want to create kind of 2 different pitches for those brands. How are you going to use your trip to Tulum to push these people's new swimwear line, and how are you going to use your trip to Tulum to push this sunglass line? And I think once you have some interest from them, they say, yes, I'm potentially interested in this, and you know what they're focused on, that's when you can really start to put that pitch together. You can start to put a mood board together. You can start to put locations. I want to shoot one thing at the beach. I want to shoot one at a restaurant. I'll shoot one on a hike. Whatever it is that you think you're going to do and will help, tell that brand story that they want to tell, put that into the document. The more, the merrier on that, as far as fleshing out your ideas. But make sure, I think where a lot of influencers falter is they don't know, I think where a lot of influencers falter is, one, they're pitching without a relationship. That's never going to work. You need to know this brand before you just start randomly asking them to pay for your vacation. And 2 is you need to understand what their KPIs are, key performance indicators, like what they are interested in. What are they trying to push? What are the products they're trying to push? What is the campaign they're doing right now? What are the hashtags they're working on? You need to understand those things before you can put a pitch together that can really help them grow. And just nuts and bolts, when I'm putting a pitch together, I would, use InDesign, use Keynote, use PowerPoint, whatever it is. Send it over as a PDF. Don't send over a PowerPoint or a Keynote document. Make sure you export it as a PDF. Use a lot of big imagery, big, beautiful photos. You guys have a lot of those, so make sure you do that. Keynote is, if you have Macs, it's really easy to use. I have no design skills, and for years I made pitch decks off of Keynote that looked pretty decent. So if you don't have that, try that. If it's a brand you really like and they say no, okay, let's say you want to work with, what's that swimwear company, Solid and Striped or something, that everyone has the striped one pieces. So let's say it's a brand like that and they ultimately pass. So, but you want to have a long-term relationship with them, I would definitely suggest buying one of their suits, bringing it down, shooting the shit anyway, posting it and being like, this is what I was talking about. Because there's potential that, we talk about that process of a sale, of relationship, validation, opportunity, and then execution. And it's possible that you're just not validated. You built a relationship with them, but they just don't know, are you going to do a good job? Are you not? Do I trust you? And so it might be that you need to just do it and show it to them and not get paid for it, so that the next time they say, okay, I trust that you're going to do a good job with this. In the conference, one of the influencers was talking about, I believe JC from Damsel in Dior was saying that she really wanted a relationship with the Four Seasons, so she saved up and she booked a room at the Four Seasons for a few days and created a bunch of awesome content and sent it to the brand and said, see, this is what I can do. And then that opened up the relationship that she was having trouble opening up beforehand. So that can be really valuable with those kind of key brands that you ultimately want to work with on a long-term basis. So that's it, y'all. Look, I get up at 4:15 tomorrow, and I'm flying down to San Miguel in Mexico to celebrate my mom's 60th birthday. I'm bringing Em and Grace with me, so it's going to be a little ratchet. If you've follow me on Instagram and you're seeing this days after, you know what I'm talking about. If not, I'm sure I put beautiful photos on, and you should follow me at James Nord. So, cheers. I don't know how to say that in Spanish.
Adios?
No, what do Spanish people say? It's like cheers.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, cheers.